don't remember. Do we do a roll call?
No, I have everybody here, so we can.
So you can see everyone. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no everybody showing up with their names and not phone numbers, so we're good.
Okay. Does anyone have any concerns or issues with the minutes of the last meeting? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Can I have a mover and seconder to approve the minutes from last meeting of March 16th, 2021?
I'll move.
Okay, Helen and Sandra, seconder. Okay. Do we have any pecuniary interests? Nope. Okay. So the agenda, are there any suggested additions to the agenda or changes to the agenda? We may have to change the order of agenda if Susan is not ready in about 1 minute.
No, I have the presentation, so I'm good to go without Susan.
Okay. Okay, can I have a mover to adopt the agenda for today?
I see Jackie and Lana had their hands up.
Okay.
So
Jack, okay, so be resolved that the agenda for the meeting of April 20th is as presented is approved. So we will move into the Kids Being Kids presentation, which I'm sure is you have a plan, but that plan may not be what happens. I guess we're going to find out.
We are used to that, planning to plan to plan. So I put together just a little slideshow. I'm going to try and share my screen if I am able to.
I think it's good. There you go.
So there's just the introduction, Kids Being Kids. There's a picture from a couple of years ago with all of our students there. And I just have to figure out how to move. There we go. So we've been operating the Kids Being Kids program since the 70s. It's an activity-based summer program provided to the families that are living in social housing, which allows the children the ability to participate in these activities that they might not otherwise be able to. The program's available to anyone who resides in the housing units that are owned by the Sault Ste. Marie Housing Corporation. And so these are included in Adrian Drive, Boston Avenue, Shannon Cap, Chapel Albion, Second Line, and the Hamilton Heights area, which is up and around FH Clerg, if anyone's unfamiliar with that area. You can stop me at any time and ask questions, and certainly at the end too, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to try and answer them for you. So each year we hire students who are college or university students who are returning to their studies in the fall. And we look for different kinds of skills. So people who have various skill sets, who definitely have experience working with children. It could be through recreational sports or, extracurricular activities. We look for different leadership skills, activity, and enthusiasm. Because these leaders, they work really diligently every day with the children to help build personal as well as educational goals. We start in the spring with usually after school programming. I'll get into kind of what we did last year later on because there was no after school, but so the students, they help to close that potential achievement gap for the children and ensuring that they have opportunity to pursue their best possible futures. We work within the principles of healthy child development. So I'm not going to read these off to you, but these are really important for the children to have caring adults to interact with, obviously to have friends to socialize with, play, which is very, teaches them, we learn through play, and participation. So getting them involved in different things that they might not otherwise have the opportunity to do so that they can build those skills and become independent. and mastery. So mastering some of those skills, which obviously helps to build their self-esteem and their positive identity. Here's some of the training that we do with them. All of our KVK students have their first aid CPR level C to work with children. Just like any employee, they have WMIS. We do safe food handling because not only do we do snacks, but we have the ever breakfast counts and do a lot of things with food. So we want to make sure that they're handling the food properly. We teach them a bit about child development and, you know, age appropriate activities for the level of the children that they're working with. We go into behavior management and risk management. So different activities that you do want to encourage some risky play, but to also obviously be aware of some of the risks that are involved with that and to try and keep them to a minimum. We do a presentation every year from the Children's Aid Society of Algoma to go through the Child Protection Act and what all is involved and expected of the students. We also have presentations from Algoma Family Services. So last year they were really helpful with us, got on a call a couple of times with us to help answer questions for our students, because this is the first time that really, like, schools had been shut down for months, so was childcare, and everyone, you know, for the most part was at home. So our program was really one of the first, I think, to be on the ground working with the children. So we were wanting to talk to the students before that about how they might approach conversations with children, you know, when they're talking about things, different topics with COVID and just how to handle those different situations. So that was really helpful. Obviously, we go through our own policies and procedures, but last year there was obviously a whole lot more of policies. We had a Zoom meeting with Algoma Public Health to go through all of the expectations for the safety protocols for COVID. We do program planning and hands-on programming sessions with the students to get them ready for their summer planning. We anticipated a couple years ago, we did the program High Five, which is a recreation and leisure program quality standard. And we had anticipated doing that last year, and then with COVID weren't able to, but we're hoping to arrange something this year. We always do driver training for those who are driving. We have a big recreational vehicle. I don't know if you've seen it around town. It has the kids being kids. It's a big motor home camper that has a whole bunch of painting on it with hands and whatnot. So the students who drive that have driver training. And then really important training that I'm looking into providing to them is the Bridges Out of Poverty. I don't know if any of you have attended that, but it's a really well put together presentation that teaches a lot about, you know, I'm not going to capture this well probably, but just, you know, the realities of living in poverty, what kind of goes into what that's like. And I think it gives people a lot better understanding of working with people who are from that vulnerable population. So it's usually Algoma Public Health, and we have our own trainers. So I don't see why we can't probably put something together to do that through Zoom. Does anyone have any questions so far? Just interrupt me if you do. These are some of the goals of the program. We obviously want to create a sense of belonging and well-being for the children, just like our 4 foundations in How Does Learning Happen, working with children through childcare and early ons. We want to create a sense of community to the families that live in these areas, help children gain their confidence and build positive relationships, develop that foundation of healthy, active living so that it carries on with them through life, to introduce them to a number of different activities and sports and games, to provide healthy, safe, secure, and a positive environment. Supervision is obviously our top priority. And it's good that we're on the ground there as well. You know, you see a lot happening and are able to help the families out and interject when we need to. There is emphasis on non-competitive activities. So while competitive sports are great, we like to encourage a lot of that cooperation and respect, and personal development. Provide enjoyable opportunities for the children to be creative, use their imagination and explore. We do a lot of arts and crafts and open-ended activities where they get to explore all their imagination. And to foster social skills and independence in recreation and leisure, to help them challenge themselves and try new things. In 2018, Susan and I have been doing this program for the last 3 years. This will be our 4th year. And the very first year that we started doing it, we introduced these weekly enrichment events because we're operated usually in 6 locations across the whole community. And so one day a week, we would bring everybody together. We would bus all the locations to one of the locations, and we alternated between our 3 main sites. And during those events, we would invite different community partners to come and do presentations for the children, to interact with them, to enjoy a nice warm meal with them, so that we can introduce them to different careers, as well as activities. This year, the year that we started, we were working with the Healthy Kids Community Challenge, and we're able to get a bunch of different sports equipment. So each week we would introduce some of these big games and really get the children involved in doing these sports. We were doing hot meals each week. And we would have it catered. We were doing it through Rico's and having it catered with actual plates and knives and forks and everything. And you know, that kind of had a lot of meaning behind it, because not only did we want to reduce waste, thinking about their futures, we didn't want a whole bunch of plates and things that we were going to be throwing away each week. But also it kind of mimicked like a family meal too. You know, you're all sitting down to a meal, you're having that conversation. We had some of the students and some of the older students wanting to help serve the meals, and then at the end the children would clear off their plates, and it was just a really, really nice get together every week that we really enjoyed. There's some pictures here on this slide here. We would have like the firefighters and the police, and we had EMS come. There's a picture there of the city police with our early on. Early on is a big part of this too. They would come out each week and provide activities to the children and socialize with them. We also had the city trucks come. We've done that a couple of years where they would come with all the different trucks, and that was like the most fun for the kids. They'd get up in the trucks and beep the horns. And we would do themes each week. So there would be, for instance, there was a survivor week, which is where we would have the firefighters and EMS and whatnot come. We did a music week. We had that drum fit come, and we would have people playing the guitar and different things. So it's a lot of fun. I know the children really enjoy it. And last year was the first year that we weren't able to do this with COVID. So we'll just have to see going forward what we're allowed to do, because this is a big component that we would love to get back to doing. We had some stats from 2019. We operate 5 days a week in the summer. I did say, like, this doesn't include our spring before school ends, but we direct our activities to the children ages 6 to 12. There sometimes are children that are younger. They can come with their parents as long as they are chaperoned. And during 2019, we were open for a total of 34 days. And that might be really small for you to see. In total, there were 133 children registered. We had 120 visit. So I don't know what happened to that 13 that just didn't come after registering. But in total, there was 1,595 visits. And the breakdown, there were 15 children who were 0 to 6 registered and 118 children 7 and over registered. A little bit about last year. Like I said, the schools have been closed since March break. So we kind of redesigned what we would typically do for after school programming. And we were able to use our 2 or 3. We used Boston Avenue. We still had a hub there. And we used Chapel Albion and Second Line. And we redesigned the environments to follow all the COVID protocols, and you can see the arrows there on the floor. Everyone was wearing masks and face shields and keeping our 2 meters distance from everyone. And what we were able to do was provide daytime educational support. We would have the children sign up for time slots so that we could space the children out and only have so many at a time. We were helping them with their virtual learning. So we reached out to the Algoma District School Board, who was able to provide tablets to us. And that way we were able to help children with their virtual learning. We also worked with Algoma Public Health to get direction on how to create those environments and follow all those protocols. And knowing that there was these huge impacts, there still are huge impacts going on for everybody, but because the children were out of school, cooped up at home, unable to access the breakfast program, certainly probably, you know, experiencing mental health issues, we wanted to be on the front lines. And so we wanted to help address these issues for them. We were able to operate out of those 3 locations, as I said, at Second Line, Boston, and Chapel Albion. And we did do outreach to our other areas as well. We just didn't have the physical locations to be there operating as we were out of our main sites, but we did provide the Every Breakfast Counts program to those sites, as well as early on provided activity bags each week for the children and families to participate in different things. KBK has been a huge part of Every Breakfast Counts since it initially began in 2018, and last year was no exception. Right now, we are currently planning for 2021. One of the big changes this year is we will have a space at Rosedale. We converted Rosedale Public School, so part of it is a community hub. There's the childcare program and the early on the side of it, but we're going to be able to use that space in the gym, and there's tons of green space around it. So that's a great opportunity. And we were thinking that, you know, we might be able to service the Hamilton Heights area with this location if we go over and walk children over to the Rosedale Public School. We are going to be doing lots of outreach and surveying parents in our outreach sites to see who all is interested. So the activities are going to be dependent on the interest in those areas. And clearly, as Paul said at the very beginning, we're waiting to see the situation with COVID and what all we're allowed to do. And I just want to thank you for listening to me go on and on and on. I hope that wasn't too lengthy, but I'm here to answer any questions now for you. And I will just stop sharing my screen there. Hi, Sam.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you to you and your team. What you're doing is very important. I was on the social services board, so I guess I've been lucky to follow along for the last couple of years. But my 2 questions, you mentioned in your presentation that you had so many kids registered, and I think you said 13 for some reason did not show up or something like that. Out of curiosity, did you follow up? Did you do a survey to try to figure out why they didn't show up?
Honestly, Sandra, we hadn't. It's a good idea that we certainly should. I think the way that the data was collected, it wasn't presented to us that way until the very end of the summer. And sometimes, I don't know if it's that they're, I do remember like a couple of things that summer where maybe they weren't the right age or living in the right area or whatnot. So that could account for maybe a couple of them, or sometimes their living situations change, but I really can't say for certain, but that's a good question.
Okay. And I know it's challenging because they move and there's so many other circumstances that are just not in our control, but I was just curious. And my second question, I know you've said this program's been going on for a long time. I think you said since the 70s?
70s, yeah.
Wow. So I'm just curious to see how many kids since the 70s, thousands, I'm sure. Out of curiosity, are there any testimonials? Were you able to follow any kids that basically went through this program and really have attributed their life to this program where they made, an impact on their lives? Like, I'm just using Pauline's place. I know that they track women that have gone through the house and they've come back to say thank you. And if it wasn't for you, I would not have, gone back to school as an example or something. Out of curiosity, are there any testimonials to show further support of this program?
I'm not aware of any at the moment, but I know that some of the children, as they age out of the program, so when we were doing those weekly enrichment events, some of the children would be over the age, and we still would kind of let them hang around and do things. And to still be part of it, we wanted to do something with like a bit of they would be ambassadors, but also like we would mentor them, and we would love to have them come and even work in the program for us. But we would still have them involved and being mentors to the younger children. But we always try to collect those kind of testimonials as well with any of the programming that we do. And we'll be on the lookout for just that.
Okay, great. So again, the bottom line is you're working with such a vulnerable population, and your care and your love for these wonderful people. I just want to say thank you. It's not easy, especially now with the COVID. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's certainly the most rewarding thing that I've ever been a part of.
I bet. Yeah.
It's a real tearjerker a lot of times, but you're able to help so much that it's all worth it.
And they look forward to seeing you when you go and visit them.
Oh, as soon as they see those KBK shirts, like they're asking, even when we're in the neighborhoods months ahead of time, like when is KBK starting? When is KBK starting? Because it makes a big difference in their lives.
Yeah, well, good. Well done. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
I have some questions and comments. I know my middle daughter was with KBK for 3 years, and then she worked at Metro in the winter. And for all the time at Metro, she saw a lot of the kids that she dealt with at KBK, and they always remembered her and always said that it was just outstanding, that they just loved it. And the parents always had very positive comments. One thing that my daughter did say is that she was at Cap Avenue most of the time, but at a couple of locations, she had a significant number of autistic kids. And she felt that in the 3 years, she'd never received any training related to how to work with autistic kids. So they have all kinds of other training. And I remember at that time, even asking around if there was somebody who could come and do a session with the KBK kids on autism, because it does. My daughter had, I remember she said one day I had 8 kids and 3 were autistic, and there was she called him a runner, which is characteristic. Another one that you couldn't be touched in any way. Then another one that always wanted to not do what the others do, and how you would engage them to come into the group. And she really would have appreciated, some type of training or advice on how to deal with autism, because it's becoming more prevalent. The other question, she had actually asked me to ask this question: can kids can kids be dropped off from other neighborhoods to the KBK sites that will run this summer?
So Susan joined. I see her there. I think it's to my understanding that this program, it's not open to the entire community, but certainly anybody who's living in these housing areas, that they would be able to participate.
Okay. So in particular, I'm talking about, so my daughter's still in contact with a lot of the Cap Avenue kids, and a couple of parents were asking, if they can get their kids from Cap Avenue to one of the other sites, can they still participate in Kids Being Kids?
So last year we offered that those that live on Shannon Cap, or Adrian's a bit further, but we did put it out there that if they wanted to participate and come to, say, our Boston Avenue, a closer location, that was available to them. So I don't see why not. We're just in the initial planning stages right now. We're looking at how we might operate and offer services to those areas this year. Susan, do you have any? You're on mute.
Yes, I was going to say that it's all what APH is recommending or advising us to do based on groupings and cohorts. So last year we had to keep second line together because they were all in that housing area. So as everything unfolds, I don't know. The further intent minus pandemic, that when they live in the housing, they could, if they had the transportation, to bring them over to other areas, but I don't know if that will be the case this year.
Okay.
And then to address your the concerns about the children on the spectrum, and I know that we didn't have training per se, but that's a really great idea that we can include and incorporate that into our training at the beginning of the summer. And I know that we were right there on the, like, went up to Shannon Cap a number of times and met with the families, and also spoke to Kate and to Thrive, and to how we could put those supports in for the family. We weren't able to get anyone to work directly in the program, but we did everything that we could to reach out to our community partners and try and get those supports for the family and for our students as well. So, you know, anytime that the runner were to come, call us immediately. We were right there and went and spoke to the family and tried to make arrangements with them.
I'm not sure, do the school boards have somebody that comes and does a session with teachers on autism? Or how do the school board teachers get training in dealing with autistic kids? Maybe this is a question for Blythe. Or...
So both ways, right? So we have some teachers that actually have some very specific special education training where they take some additional qualifications after their teacher training in spec ed. So some of them receive their training that way. And we also have in-house training as well. That was sort of what was in the back of my mind when you were asking that question, is I think, you know, when and if we get to that point that there may be an opportunity. Our spec ed team over the last couple of years has become really multidisciplinary in nature, which is quite exciting because it's reaching out and including all kinds of professionals. So there may be an opportunity for some kind of partnership there, because we certainly have that expertise in-house, as do a couple of other agencies. You know, I believe that Thrive as well, you know, might have that capacity. So we certainly should have it in the community.
Okay. Is there also a possibility of the KBK kids getting to access the next item on our agenda, which is the Point to Shane transit, to get them out to the beach? Or is that difficult with KBK?
Again, it'll be dependent on COVID is dictating to us. Every year we would always go to the pools, and even last year, I know we weren't going down to Greco, but second line, because they were within walking distance, we had them walk. I don't know that they'll be able to use any kind of transportation, Paul. So at this point it's unknown, and we'd also have to talk about, you know, how they're chaperoned. And I'm assuming, like, are there lifeguards going to be at Point?
No.
So I'm not sure that would be an activity that we would permit.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, maybe we can have a report back in June as to what actually is going to happen, since there's a lot could change in the next 2 months. Okay, if there's no other questions, then thank you, Carrie and Susan. Again, my daughter did this for 3 years, and she has probably 10 to 12 kids who still see her on the street and run up to her and give her hugs, and just the kids, it's amazing what she learned from it, what made her a better person, but also just how much the kids loved the KBK, and she still talks about it every day. So that for Susan, that's Jessica, my daughter Jessica, and she sees some of those kids now at her job at AFS, and it helps when she's doing her family sessions and the kids already know her. It's just like so much easier to make progress right from the start. So again, this is an outstanding program. I hope we never have to talk about it, you know, not enough funding or can't do this or can't do that. And it sounds like we're doing the best we can around COVID, and that's great. So, okay.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome. Okay, so then,
I was just going to say thanks everyone for listening to us speak about our program. And I guess we will step out and let you continue on with your meeting.
okay.
Thank you. Not that I was here for a lot, but thanks. And the KBK continue to talk about it, the impact that they've had and just how they all hold a special place in their heart for the children that they've served and seen them. So thanks for acknowledging that, Paul.
Okay. All right. So I assume this is Virginia Point to Shane transit update.
Yep, I attached the council report for the committee's information. So Brent took the report to council on March 29th, recommending a pilot, and you can see that the schedule's in there as far as the times and days that they're running and how that's going to work. Council approved the pilot, so they'll be moving forward with it starting Saturday, June 26th, and it'll end on Labor Day, September 6th. So yeah, and then he'll have probably a follow-up report to council to let them know how the pilot proceeded.
Okay. And I think last meeting we'd also talked about if all goes well with the Point to Shane transit, whether we could look at a couple's weekend trips to Hiawatha in the fall under this similar type of arrangements. So maybe we can bring that up in a session in June.
Can I
Well, I
comment on?
guess, sure.
Sorry. I started the ball rolling. I spoke with Rachel Chiniski. She's the city clerk about this. And I have a meeting tomorrow, a telephone meeting with Brent Lamming about this idea. And so, yeah, the ball's rolling, and I just wanted to gather some more information before we put together a resolution to add this on.
Okay. Yep, that's good. Okay. So we don't have any current subcommittees active. Under new business, I love to move program Brenda.
Hi there. Thanks for inviting us. I'm joined also by Sharia Mathur, who's the administrative assistant at the Center for Social Justice. And Sharia is currently coordinating the I Love to Move program. When I was on the Best for Kids committee, I brought you sort of an overview of what we have been doing to this point. Our program is designed to help children in the community that aren't able to, much like the KBK program, that aren't able to access regular recreation and sporting activities. It started out at the Sioux Tech in cooperation with the Neighborhood Resource Center, and it has since morphed into, pre-COVID, it morphed into 2 locations, one in the West End, one in the East End, where kids would come every Saturday, participate in an 1.5 to 2 hour free program of physical activity. We were joined by city police officers, various members of the community, Brad Jacobs, others that would show them martial arts, curling obviously, and we had a soccer team from Europe that came to visit one time. So up until COVID, we were a very successful program and continued to be somewhat throughout the COVID, but we were seeing upwards of 60 to 80 kids a week in the Saturday sessions and providing them with fun activities. Anyhow, I'll let Sharia give you an overview of our funding models, et cetera, and what we've been doing since COVID. We've still been managed to limp along, but Virginia and I have spoken in the past about our need for access in the West End of town in particular, if we're to keep up our programming until we can get back into the schools, because we were using Queen Elizabeth School and Holy Family School, and those are no longer available to us, and we're not quite sure that when they will be. So I'll turn it over to Sharia. Sharia, I believe, is on the line.
Yes, I'm right here, Brenda. Hello, everyone. My name is Shreya Mathur. I'm the program coordinator at the Center for Social Justice and Good Works. So I've been involved with I Love to Move for almost years now. I mean, before COVID, we were running the program out of Queen Elizabeth School and Holy Family School. Those were two of our locations, and we would have anywhere from 30 to about 20 kids each week. It's and I think I would say even with COVID, we've managed to do a great job with attendance because we are running the program at one location weekly, which is the gathering place, and we have about 30 kids registered for our program who are showing up every week. And there is interest, there is more interest. It's just that we've not been able to secure another location at the West End site. And also, I mean, Brenda and I would love to see if there could be a partnership with the city here to get us a safe place for the summertime to run our recreation programs. It's for staff members, volunteers, and participants. We have funding from Jumpstart available as well, but that is still pending right now. We don't have any funding as of now for the summer program. So having a partnership with the city would be great, just to sort of get a location for our participants. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Brenda, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna let you finish. We were running it out of the gathering place. We had to cap it at 30 young people because of before the lockdown, and obviously we're not running it during the lockdown. But we have run programs last summer, both online and at Bellevue Park, and we're hoping to be able to do that outdoor programs. Do that again this summer. But if the lockdown is lifted, we would like to secure a location where we could do it maybe once or twice a week indoors. Is that right, Sharia?
Yeah. Indoor or outdoor, I mean, as long as, yes, having an indoor space would be great because then it's not weather dependent. But yes, having that safe space is important.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. So
I just have one.
Okay.
Last year, the city ran a program of free busing across town. Is that still available this summer?
I'll let Virginia answer.
That we ran a pilot last year and it's going to be running again this summer. So I can forward you some additional details on that.
Good. And we had discussed, Virginia, the possibility of, as I said, we need to find a safe space that if we're doing it outdoors, we need access to a washroom. So, after the lockdown, if it's possible that we might be able to use the track adjacent to the Northern Community Center here in the West End, or at Bellevue Park, a location close to the washroom areas at Bellevue Park for when we're running our programs outdoors.
You know what, we could talk about some of the options and then I can get you kind of coordinated with staff. The track does get booked out quite a bit during the summer as well. So there's not necessarily always the consistency there for the space, or it may end up being a shared space. So we could take
and we have in the past secured porta potties. So we're going to do whatever we can do, because the graduates for our program, which are, they don't graduate, they just continue on till they age out, but they're sharing similar experiences with us that the KBK kids are doing. It's an invaluable program, and if we'd like to see it grow over the years to be available in the neighborhoods. Thanks for inviting us, and I'll let you and Sharia communicate in the future.
Okay. Since it was brought up, Virginia, maybe you can give us an update on what is actually open and closed related to recreation with COVID right now. Because at first there was playgrounds are closed, tennis courts are closed, basketball hoops are closed. Are these things closed, or was that all reversed, or part of it was reversed?
So I can give a bit of an update. Based off of the order that I've seen, you're allowed to walk through parks. but you're not allowed to use the equipment at this time. Unless there's been some additional, we haven't seen any additional orders come through. I know there was a bit of a revision, but as of this moment, tennis courts are closed, skate parks, pump track, all of those types of amenities, pickleball, are all closed at this time. It's just walking through parks is permitted, just no
Okay.
equipment.
I thought there had been a change to playground equipment as long as it was within your own family and socially distanced, but I could be wrong.
I know that there was some changes. For example, with the marina, originally it was closed and now we're allowed to have it open with some certain signage and restrictions. I just haven't seen it. I know you may know more because Susan is working through this, but I haven't.
Yeah, I know she's 1 minute she's been told we're putting up barricades, next minute we're not, then we are, then we aren't, so.
Yeah, I just haven't seen the official order, Paul, so I don't know.
Okay.
There's a chance that they may loosen the restrictions a little bit, and I believe that there's going to be, I think they're working on a press release to help clarify what's going on, because there has been some back and forth. So we did a whole bunch of work to get things shut down as per the order, and now we may be able to loosen things up a little bit. So I would imagine in the next 24 hours, you'll see something official come out.
Okay. Okay. It's a little frustrating right now for us as a committee. We are listening to updates, but can't actually do all that much because of COVID. We can't plan anything. I'm hoping that COVID by August is a thing of the past, and then in the fall that we need to, I think, re-engage to do our planning for fall and winter of 21 and 22. So now we're just kind of sitting here along for the ride while others are doing as best they can. But if anyone does come up with ideas as to how we can support is your KBK or the I Love to Move program or anything that Virginia's doing, you can bring them up at the next meeting. For now, we just got to kind of sit back and see what happens. One other thing that just popped in mind, Jackie, you are organizing a Triple P conference, but it's a virtual conference, correct?
Correct.
And when is that?
Well, it's more like webinars. So there's one this afternoon that's for addictions recovery for families, kind of using Triple P strategies. And then the next one is more about implementation. So it's none of it is geared for parents per se, or even practitioners. The purpose was more for leaders, managers, that sort of role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Is there anything else?
I can, Paul.
Okay,
Virginia? I can give a bit of an update just from a recreation and culture perspective. Obviously there's not a lot we can do, especially during this next lockdown, because we're not supposed to be encouraging anybody to be out. But, over Easter, we set up just a scavenger hunt for kids through Bellevue Park, and they had to find certain images. We're hoping that once we come out of lockdown, we'll continue to do those types of things, have little scavenger hunts set up. We'll do the Hub Trail Festival again this year as a month-long scavenger hunt with some prizes throughout the Hub Trail, just to encourage people to be out and active. Again, that's all permitting whatever the current restrictions may be. So, it's definitely a little bit challenging for us because, you plan and then you have to roll back. So, but really looking at those self-directed opportunities. We're also going to be continuing to do some more work in the James Street area. So we're going to be facilitating another mural project with the neighborhood again this summer. So inviting participants to come out in their family units to paint in a safe, COVID-friendly way. So that'll be taking place again, hopefully sometime in June. We're continuing the playground expansion there. So there's a number of pieces that are moving along. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge from a planning standpoint for us.
Okay, so our next meeting is May 18th at noon. Can I have a mover to adjourn?
I just want to comment, if I
Oh,
may.
Sandra, go ahead.
I have a Phenom conference that I need to attend virtually. So there's a good
okay.
chance, unfortunately, I won't be attending this meeting. I'll try,
Okay.
but there's a good chance I won't. Sorry.
Okay. All right. A mover to adjourn. Can't see the pictures.
Helen.
Helen, seconder.
Kate.
Yeah. Okay, we're adjourned, and great work, Virginia, for everything. I know you're trying as hard as you can with the limitations that you have, but thanks again to City Council for supporting some of our pilots that have been proposed, such as the Point de Chene and the bus, and continued support of KBK by social services and so on. You're doing the best that you can do, so we appreciate it.
May I make one final comment?
Okay, yep.
I just want to say thank you, Virginia, for doing the Bellevue Park Easter. I think it's a little challenging right now, but that's much appreciated. And if you do any more of these virtual or non-touch activities, please just let myself know so I can promote at council.
Yeah, well, I'll be sure to send out any of the social media posts to the committee members. We're hoping, we've been working on getting some others ready so that we can do them as soon as we're allowed to. Right, we'll have to wait till after lockdown just so that we're not promoting gatherings. So yeah, we've got a bunch more planned, and we're going to try to spread them out through different areas of town that people are, familiar walking routes, so that they're not just in the East End. We're going to look for some other spaces to do some kind of fun activities in as well.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everyone. We'll talk in about a month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
Stay safe.
You as well.